I'm going to take a moment to talk about the Spawn comic series. I bought the Spawn Compendium, Volume 1, which is the first 50 issues, I believe. And I read a few of the issues, and it's terrible. Yeah, that's a word I would use. I was... Okay, first off, I'm not a comic book reader. Never have been. When I was a little kid, sometimes I'd have fun, looking through the pages of like a Batman comic or some random, whatever random shit I would find in a store, and if my mom would buy it for me, cool. Like, I think I had like an AVP comic, and I thought that was super cool. But then, yeah, fast forward to adulthood. Don't really read comics at all. I bought Irredeemable, like the first 3 volumes of that, which is... Does that count as a comic book? That's more like a graphic novel. Is there a difference? I don't know. But I read Irredeemable until my electricity turned back on. The only reason I was reading it was because the electricity went out. I can't remember if it was a storm or what. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to read a book. Oh, God, I got to read. But, like, that's my attitude. I'm trying to change it a little bit. But it was really good from what I read. It was really solid. And then the electricity came back on, and I never looked at it ever again. I should, because I was actually getting really into it. And so, yeah, I was always a big fan of Spawn. Love the character design. I mean, I think that's what he's most famous for, but loved him as a kid. The terrible 98 movie, when I was a kid, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. It's like, wow, Spawn. And there are things about that movie that are likable. The makeup effects, the costume design, all the practical stuff is top notch. I couldn't tell you what studio did it. It wouldn't surprise me if it was like Stan Winston studio. The CGI was god awful in most parts. I think there were certain parts where it looked better than in others, but for the most part, it was like some of the worst. Notoriously bad, when people talk about bad CGI, like the all-time bad CGI, that's one of the movies that they go back to. It gets referenced. But yeah, huge fan of the animated series, the HBO animated series. I didn't see that until way later. When I was somewhere in my 20s, I want to say mid to late 20s, was when I finally watched that. Could have been early 20s. And I thought it was incredible. I was like, wow, that fucking 98 movie was this? This is what they made the movie like? It blew my mind how good that... What I'm trying to get at is the juxtaposition. That's a big word. It makes you sound smart. I'll use that. In quality between the 98 movie and the HBO series. The voice work, perfection. Keith David as Spawn. Like, as I'm reading through the Spawn Compendium, I do, in my head, as I'm reading it, I'm using all the voices from the HBO series. When I'm reading a line from Spawn, I do it in Keith David's voice. in my head. And the same for the Violator and Jason Wynn, all those characters. And it doesn't help it. The writing's terrible in the comic book. It's nothing like the fucking TV show. I don't know what I expected. I expected it to be somewhat similar in tone. Visually, it has the same tone, but the writing is goofy. It's more like cartoony kid stuff, like Cadillacs and dinosaurs. I think back to those early 90s, morning kids shows that I used to watch. It's goofy. Like, Spawn can shapeshift. I didn't know that. Kind of interesting, I guess, but he changes into a white guy, and he hates that he's a white guy, which, being that it's the 90s, I'm not going to take that as a woke thing. Like, whatever. I'm not going to take that as a fuck white people thing. I'm going to take it as, like, this isn't what I look like. Like, if I woke up black, I would be like, what the fuck? I would be pissed, too. One of those things. The writing's not good. The origin story is good in the television series. But the way that they tell the origin story in the comic books is shit. He already knows how to use his powers. There's no build-up to anything. Let me tell you why the TV series is special. The TV series is cool because Spawn slowly, over time, learns how to use his abilities, gets more powerful. It was kind of like that in the shitty 98 movie, too. That did a better job than the comic book. In the comic book, he just kind of sort of randomly knows how to use his shit. But not properly. But, let's see, what were some of the things? The thing where he disguises into the white guy, and he goes to see Wanda, his ex-wife. Well, not his ex-wife, his widowed wife. And he's like, hi, I'm a dog catcher. I can't remember his excuse for showing up at their house, but then he sees that she has a daughter that's not his, and he passes out, like, on their front steps. This is in the comic book. And so they take this weirdo who they don't know into the house with her daughter and the dog, and they nurse him until he's awake and okay, and they're like, so how you feeling? And he's like, oh, my wife left me, I don't know what I am anymore. And it's just this weird fucking guy that showed up on their doorstep for no good reason, and they're like all understanding and taking care of him like they're a fucking hospital. And I guess the reason for that is because the dog likes him. The dog remembers him. Stupid writing. Another thing that pissed me off is it does not respect the Violator. Like in the TV show, and even in the shitty 98 movie, the Violator, there's a build up to it. At first he's kind of a goofy, evil clown. He's a demon, but you don't know exactly what he is. In the comic, there's no build up to him transforming into the Violator. He's just the Violator right from the start. Great art, by the way. He looks great. Malbolgia looks great. Fucking Spawn looks great. Every time one of those characters show up, you could tell that fucking whoever the artist was, he was fucking snorting lines of coke, fucking just scribbling, man, going all out. Great artwork. But yeah, that I just didn't like the way the introduction of the Violator. He's just the Violator right away. You know, he's not trying to sweet talk Spawn into the plan. He's just kind of like, fuck you, right from the start. I haven't got to overt kill yet, but I can already tell it's not going to be his introduction is not going to be as good as it was in the series. Overt kill is fucking amazing in the series. Like, he has some amazing lines. It's small part, but great villain. They make the most of his small part. It is exactly 12 o'clock midnight in Nairobi. Every line of... I could go on and on. This comic book series has none of that. Maybe it gets better. I'm trying to think of other things. There's the panels that have like the news reporters talking about what's happening. I think they're talking about the Violator ripping people's hearts out, and maybe a little bit of Spawn. There's a reference to the teenage. I'm noticing a lot of lame pop culture references. Like, they reference the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then they also reference Batman at one point. It might have been in the same fucking issue. And I'm like, what the fuck does this have to... Is Spawn in the same universe as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman? Because that's what they're making it sound like. And I don't believe that's the case. I don't think Spawn was ever... Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Spawn was ever DC. Spawn was Dark Horse, right? Either way, it's lame. Like, you're introducing a new anti-hero. Don't reference other fucking superheroes in your origin story. Like, because that just reminds me of the current year and the past couple of years, all the universe shit. Everybody's sick of it. Apparently they were doing it in comic books back in the early 90s, and it makes me gag. So the reveal of the Violator is retarded. Malbolgia seems like a mustache twirling retard. Like, he's just, ha ha ha, you're falling right into my plan. All that gay crap. Spawn is a whiner. Like, he saves some girl from getting raped, and that didn't go anywhere. There's just nothing from the TV show that's good. The Twitch and I forget the other detective's name. I'll just call him Sir, because that's what how Twitch always refers to him. That's actually the one consistent thing from the TV show that it carries over, it feels like, is the conversations between Twitch and what's his face, Sir. Everything else just feels off. So far, I've got a long ways to go. There's like 1,000 some pages. I don't know if I'm going to read the whole thing or not. What else was there that was stupid? I mentioned the pop culture references. There was something else that pissed me off. I think it's the layout, the panels themselves, like, since I'm not used to reading comic books, okay, so it's confusing to me trying to follow the conversations, like the space bubbles, but it seems the way it's done is extra confusing and retarded in this. Like, maybe this is before they perfected comic book panels, because when I was reading Irredeemable, I didn't have that problem. I could follow the conversations, like the space bubbles or whatever they're called, like in the panels, like everything flowed like the way I imagine a comic book should. This is way more confusing. Like, I can't tell. I have a hard time telling who's speaking first. There's a lot of instances of that. And who's responding to who. Like, the panels are set up weird. And maybe that gets better. But, yeah, there was a number of times where I had to, like, just stare at the page and study it for, like, a few minutes to try and figure out how the conversation was actually going. Like, I would read certain things out of order, and it would make the conversation really fucking confusing. Maybe that's just because I'm like a comic book noob, but like I said, I read a lot of Irredeemable, and I didn't have that problem at all. Everything flowed together nicely. This feels like kind of a mess. Just the way the panels are set up, the space bubbles, or text bubbles, whatever they're fucking called. Yeah, it's shit. It feels like so far. I went in expecting. Oh, and another thing, the curse words are like cheesy, corny. Friggin'. There's a lot of friggins. There's a lot of crap. Like the use of the word crap. Friggin' is a big one. They say friggin' a lot. There hasn't been a single actual curse word. And when I think back to Spawn the animated series, you know, there's cocksucker, cunt, faggot, bitch, whore, slut, eat dick, you commie, fucking slant-eyed shit. Crackhead. It's weird. I was expecting something different. It's not delivering. Like, I love the television show, and the reason why I bought the compendium was because I wanted to understand the universe better. And so far, the comic book is just making me see why maybe the television show was canceled. Maybe they didn't have enough material. Maybe the writers were trying to stay faithful to the comic books, and in doing so, HBO was like, no, this is terrible. I don't know what happened, but those first 2 seasons of Spawn the animated series are like masterpieces, and there's parts of the 1998 movie that I don't hate. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm going to keep reading it. I want to see if it gets better. It's pretty. That helps. The art is pretty. Spawn always looks good. all the demons always look good, you know, so there's that. I don't know what else to say about it.